Hi there, and welcome to the section on source control. Now, source control used to be something only really used by large development teams. You see, when you have bigger projects and when those projects are fee earning, then two issues you need to overcome is how to allow multiple developers to work on the same software and yet keep all their code in sync. You need to make sure any change can be regressed if you suddenly find you've made a boo-boo. Source control systems were the answer to this. The idea is that a developer working on a piece of the system would check out the relevant bit of code, make their changes, and then commit it back. This checkout and commit essentially copied the code to their local computer and also allowed the user to lock the section they were working on. Plus, the source control system would also keep a running backup of sorts so that any one commit could be rolled back. The problem with this is that if a section of code was locked, nobody else could work on it. Then another type of source control emerged that allowed you to work on a bit of code without needing to check it out first, or at least lock it. Any changes would still be committed locally, but now the commit process was more flexible. Because there was no locking of the bit you were working on, it would be possible for another developer to work on the same bit of code. Of course, this could create conflicts. So to get around this, you would commit the changes of your local copy of your code to your local machine. You would then pull from the source. This pull would bring down the latest copy of the code, and it would check to see if anything had changed since you last performed a pull. If it did detect changes, for example if someone else had been working on the same bit of code you had and pushed their changes back to the server, then the system would try to merge the changes. If the other developer had worked on a completely different bit of the system, this merge would be automatic and would simply update your copy of the system. If you've both worked on the same file, then you would have the option to review both sets of changes and perform a manual merge. Basically, you'd combine your code with the other developer's code to make sure everything still worked. Once you were happy with the merge, you would then push the whole lot back up to the source or the server. Thus, with this pattern, everyone is always in sync. Another useful feature of source control systems is the ability to branch. A branch is basically a copy of the original or master code that you can work on separately. You generally do this when working on a new feature set or a bug. Why? Well, imagine you have a stable and released product, but you're asked to make some changes. So off you go working on the feature, but halfway through there's a bug found in the original system that needs to be fixed. Unfortunately, you now can't fix the bug until you finish your feature, otherwise you'd be releasing the software with a half-finished feature but with a bug fix in. And so we take a branch. We work in the branch on your new features. So now if a bug is found in the original software, another developer can take a branch of their own from the master copy or the clean code that does work other than the bug that's been found, and work completely independently of any work that you're doing. Of course, now we have three branches: the master, the core code, the feature that you're working on and have probably finished by now, and the bug fix as well, and we need some way to bring them all together. To do this, we simply merge the branches, and it's very similar to when you're merging normal code. We bring them all together, and if there's code in the same bits of the software, then we might have to manually work out which bits don't go together by comparing the various files. Nowadays, as well as being used by large teams, many individual developers use online source control systems as well. Why? Well, a number of reasons. The first is that this change control, branching, backup mechanism it gives you. You can build and develop your app safe in the knowledge that if your computer gets wiped, you have a backup. Or if you write some code that mucks everything up, you can easily roll back to an earlier working copy of the version. Another great reason is for code collaboration and sharing. So much of code today is open source. Even, for example, the ASP.NET framework and many of the modules it uses are now open source. And this means you have a free and complete access to all the source code yourself. You can see these projects simply by going to github.com. This is one of the most popular code sharing sites there is. Using GitHub, you can write code and share it with everyone in the world. This might be so others can build code out of it, or to help you make it better. Or it might be to simply help others, teach others how to code. I myself share various projects on GitHub, both for my own personal record, sometimes to show other people how I found a way to get around something, and also to help with teaching. But of course, sometimes you also need private copies that nobody else can access, and GitHub does also give you this ability to create these private repositories, so it keeps them all just for yourself. In the next few lectures, I'll show you how to create a GitHub account, get the client software you need to be doing all our working on branches and commits and everything else, and then we'll go through how we actually do all the committing and merging.